Let's get more expert views on this from Michael Friedlander, the former nuclear engineer and also senior reactor operator as well. Thanks for coming in, Michael. You have worked 15 years of your working experience with 6 reactors in the US, haven't been to Japan.
Correct.
But the idea of Japan being nuclear-free and taking these reactors off-stream, how realistic is that?
Well, anything's possible, particularly in this day and age. The issue that they're going to have to deal with, though, is during the peak demand season, which will be in the summertime, and then they'll have another peak in the wintertime. It is almost inevitable that at least in the TEPCO service area and the Kansai Electric service area, that they're going to have to be forced curtailments, that people are just not going to be able to have power. And that's just the way it's going to be. There will be probably rolling blackouts in different sectors around the city. A lot of it is still, it depends upon how well the people themselves can actually conserve the power. And as you know, there's been massive PR programs to have people reduce their power consumption.
So, I mean, if you were advising them, what's the best strategy for this? Obviously, there is a reaction to what happened last March, and they're going to do this for the sake of what is being called upon by the people.
Yep.
That happens also right across from Germany as well to the US and Japan. How would they roll out these rollouts, if you like?
You know, it's going to come down to this. They need to decide, as a matter of public policy, are they going to pursue the nuclear option, and what do they need to do to get the reactors restarted, or are they going to have to basically scrap their nuclear program and rebuild a thermal or alternative power system within the country, and that's that. And maybe they'll pursue both. It's really hard to say. But given the industry that they have and the scope and the scale of it, I think they're going to have to deal with the nuclear power plants that they have, and some of them are going to have to be restarted. But that will not happen before they regain public confidence. That's the issue.
That could take a long time to gain that confidence.
It could take years.
So they'll actually keep the plant in its place, but just shut it down altogether.
Yeah, exactly. They're the plants that have not been damaged, the other 50 power plants, they're in a situation now called cold shutdown. That's where all the systems are operating, the water is circulating in the reactor to keep it cool. It's a very safe condition normally. And, of course, the longer that they're shut down, the safer it becomes. And they'll remain in a cold shutdown condition until the government gives them the authorization to restart. But, again, no public official wants to be on record supporting nuclear power today. They really have to focus on regaining the trust of the public.
Is it the same in the US? Is it the same across Europe? We've heard words from Germany, of course, but for the US, for example, your experience there, is this now filtering into the public opinion across the world?
It's hard to say because, you know, again, the nuclear power industry in the United States is actually quite large. It's quite extensive, and there have been a whole host of initiatives undertaken to really upgrade the qualifications and the expertise of the operators, things that didn't take place in Japan. It rattled the U.S., but as you saw late last year, 2 brand new reactors were authorized in the United States, first time in almost 30 years that any new reactors have been authorized. So it seems to have had an impact, but not so much so that they would take all the reactors offline in the U.S.
Michael, tell us about the alternatives for this. I mean, it's obviously nuclear, someone said, is the cleanest, safest way of actually having a power source, but there are alternatives now. They must be addressed by governments.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's really only a couple of alternatives, right? First and foremost,
they're expensive.
And the cheapest and easiest and the quickest is energy savings. And there's been studies globally in virtually every market, especially developed markets, that the opportunity for reducing energy consumption using energy efficiency technologies, changing light bulbs, film on windows, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that developed economies can save anywhere between 20 and 30% of their electricity consumption just by implementing energy efficiency. That's the cleanest, the safest, the quickest, and the fastest source to reducing energy consumption. Japan, what they're forced with and what they're going to have to deal with is they have no natural resources themselves. So they are forced into importing much more significant quantities of LNG and coal. They're going to have to take old power plants, which they have done over the course of the last year, out of a mothball status and restart them and increase their imports of these alternative fuels. And then finally, as I said, if they are going to, as a matter of policy, intend to restart some of these nuclear power plants, they really need to focus on upgrading the qualifications of the reactor operators.
So costs get driven up.
Absolutely. Certainly in the short term as they increase their imports.
Thanks for coming in there. Michael Friedlander there, 15 years of experience as a former nuclear engineer, again, 6 plants in the US.